Good morning, math students. This is our introduction video for our lesson on graphing proportional relationships. The difference for this lesson and the next lesson is that instead of having a story to help us create a table and a graph, we only have the equation. Now, what we learned in our first lesson is that if you have a table is just a list of points, and so we could use that to help us make a graph. We can do the same thing when we do not have a story. So for example, this equation says to find y, I multiply x by 2 times x. So if I wanted to make a table, I can pick random numbers for x, like 0, 1, 2, 3, and I'm just multiplying by 2 to find my y. So for example, for this first one, to find y, I'm doing 2 times 0. I'm just substituting 0 for x, and 2 times 0 is 0. For the number 1, to find y, I'm doing 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Go ahead, pause the video, and find these next two numbers. For this next one, you're doing 2 times 2, which is 4. And then finally 2 times 3, which is 6. So we've got 4 and 6 there. Now the same way we did in our previous lesson with the stories, this is just a list of points, and so I can mark these 4 points over here on my graph to help me find that line. There's the point 0, 0, the point 1, 2, so remember that's 1 on your x-axis and 2 on your y-axis. So I go over to 1 on x and then up to 2 on y, 2, 4, and 3, 6. And then my line would go through those points. So I would draw a line just like this, and it's going to go through the entire graph. We picked the number 0, 1, 2, 3, but I could have also picked, for example, the number -2 for x, and y would be 2 times -2, that's -4, which, if you notice, is that point right here. A line is just connecting all of the points in your table that we get from doing math with the equation. So this right here is the goal for today. The goal is, if I give you an equation with no story, can you make the graph? Now, doing all of this math in this table, because that number in front was the number 2, it wasn't too hard to do, but you'll notice down here, the next one is going to be a fraction. And I'm a math teacher, but I don't like doing all of that math again and again with fractions. So there's actually an easier way using this number in front to help you make your graph. The number in front of x is called slope. So for this equation we just did, the number 2 in this equation, we call the number 2 slope. And slope is going to be a number that tells you the direction of the line. When we describe the direction of the line, we use a formula for slope called rise over run. The rise number tells you how much the line is going up or down, and the run number tells you how much it's going sideways. And so for this example, our slope is the number 2. Because the formula is a fraction, I need to think of 2 as a fraction. So 2 as a fraction we learned in developmental math is 2 over 1. And so that means our line is rising 2. It's going up 2 and going over 1 to get to each point. So notice another way I could create this graph instead of making this table and doing all of this math is I mark my first point at 0, and then this is the movement we're going to do. We're going to rise 2 and run 1. So I'm going to get my graph maybe a little bit bigger so we can see. And over here on our graph, we are going to rise 2 boxes and run 1. And that's where my next point is. Rise 2 boxes, up 2, run 1 over 1, and there's my next point. By doing that, instead of all of this math we did over here in the table, that's going to save us a lot of time especially when we have equations with fractions. So what we're going to do here, instead of graphing with a table, we're going to do no table. We are just going to use slope. So for this equation, what is our slope? Well, slope is 5/2. That means our line is going to rise 5. It's going to go up 5 boxes and run 2. It's going to go over 2 boxes. We need to start at 0, 0. Every graph in today's lesson is going to start at 0, 0, because if I multiply 5/2 by 0, it equals 0. So that's that 0, 0 point. And then using slope, pause this video and see if you can find where that next point will be. We want to rise 5, so I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No point yet. Make sure you have nothing right here because we also need to run 2, 1, 2, and that is where my next point is. You really only need 2 points to make a line, so this is enough. I can go ahead and draw my line through those points, and ta-da, there's our graph. In today's lesson, we're going to practice graphing equations like these using slope and rise over run. You ready for today's lesson? Thanks so much for watching.